U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has requested assistance from Indian authorities in its investigation of Adani Group founder Gautam Adani and his nephew Sagar Adani over alleged securities fraud and a $265 million bribery scheme. The SEC told a New York district court its efforts to serve its complaint to Gautam and Sagar Adani were ongoing and that it is seeking help from India's Ministry of Law and Justice to serve its complaint to Gautam and Sagar Adani. Last year, federal prosecutors in Brooklyn unsealed an indictment accusing Adani of bribing Indian officials to convince them to buy electricity produced by Adani Green Energy, a subsidiary of his Adani Group conglomerate, and then misleading U.S. investors by providing reassuring information about the company's anti-corruption practices. My colleague Karthik Malhotra, in fact, gets us the latest on this.
Just to take you back into the case actually pertains to the period between 2020 and 2024. And this is the time when allegedly the Adani Group has engaged, allegedly I say with a great deal of caution, in some sort of a bribery of Indian officials to buy solar energy from the Adani Green set of companies. Now, Adani Green is led by Gautam Adani's nephew, Sagar Adani, and there was an envelope that was unsealed last year, 2024, which suggested that there was as much as $265 million, which as of yesterday's exchange rate amounts to as high as 2,300 crore rupees worth of alleged bribery to Indian officials to buy green energy from Adani Green. Now, this of course was a jolt that had hit Adani Enterprises and Adani Green, which in their own stride called the allegations baseless and said that all legal recourse would be taken by them to put the matter to bed. Now, a few weeks back, Donald Trump, in one of his executive orders, had actually quashed this entire work of DOJ, the Department of Justice in the US, saying that this entire department, which looks into bribery on foreign soil, is something that they don't want to go ahead and proceed with. And that came as a positive news for Adani Group, and Adani shares also soared on the back of that news. But the report which is coming in this morning pretty much says that under the Hague Service Commission, there is a request being made by the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission, or U.S. SEC, which is the market regulator in the U.S., requesting Indian authorities to probe the matter and investigate Adani Group of Enterprises. Now, this morning, again, as expected, the Adani Enterprises stock took a beating. It was down about 1.8% when markets opened, recovered gradually to about just 0.5% down. But further bad news coming for Adani Green. Adani Green shares this morning are down about 2.7% or so when I last checked. So obviously this is bad news for Adani Group. Now, why did the US actually get embroiled in this alleged bribery on Indian soil by an Indian company to an alleged Indian government official? Well, simply because last year Gautam Adani and Adani Green actually went to the US in a bid to raise capital, to raise funding for Adani Green, and that funding was slated to be as high as $2 billion. So it was $2 billion that Adani Group wanted to raise for Adani Green from the US. This was the US markets as well as US investors. And the disclosures which Adani Group had made said that they are fully compliant with the anti-bribery, anti-corruption practices. And what the US is now alleging and what the US SEC is now alleging is that there was a false statement given by Adani Enterprises and it not really adhere to the anti-corruption law of land while raising capital from the US. So the Hague Service Commission is now put into place where the matter is pretty much, on between the US and India following the Hague Convention route, where Adani Group of Enterprises is expected to submit a reply within 21 days. However, the Service Commission at Hague does not stipulate a set time for the investigation to be conducted or to be closed. So it's still somewhere in the gray area. Like I told you, Adani Group has maintained that the allegations were baseless and it would take all legal recourse to put the matter to rest. But this latest salvo coming from US SEC not boding well for Adani Group.